and gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special.
Well, good morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube and Twitch. This is the Early Bird Special. Sparky's got 2 words for you if you're watching on the video stream. Sparky, good morning, my friend.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Let them know what they're in for today.
Oh, we've got a busy show. Not as busy as next Friday, but we'll get into that a bit later. We'll start off with some training camp news all around the league. You know, some Justin Fields, Christian Wilkins, some Steelers talk. Another Dolphins injury. Yeah. The Mariners added a veteran first baseman, slugger. We'll get into that. And we've got some more WNBA drama. Surprise. And we'll have 24KG at the top of the hour. We'll remember the Hulkster. We've also got some other wrestling news. And just for you wrestling fans, it announced a couple weeks ago. We'll get into it in a few weeks. But Mick Foley will make his return to Bakersfield and do an autograph signing. We'll have some people coming out, and we might even have some tickets to give away about that. Ooh. But we won't say that on the air.
No, not yet.
But we are the Early Bird Special. Feel free to jump in anytime at 661-842-2000. You can text or call in anytime during the show. And with the Hall of Fame game next week, I'm thinking we'll have some time to get into some fantasy talk next week. Just relax. I got your texts. We'll get into it.
We want to just as much as you do. Trust me.
Yes.
We've been talking about it all week. We've had people walk up to Sparky all week. When does the fantasy league start? I've had people text me all week when the fantasy league starts, and I don't even run the dang thing.
And people that are running video.
Yes, he got his new hat in.
Hat finally showed up.
Look how clean. Over under and how long it takes the white part to get dirty.
It already feels dirty.
Honestly, it kind of
it's
that happens
like an
to me
off-white
all
color
the time. But I think that's on purpose. I think they do that on purpose, just so you don't have to worry about that feature anymore. You know what I mean?
I'll wear it till it doesn't work anymore.
When it's too white, it's almost blinding. Mm-hmm. It makes it looks even worse. So I don't know. It looks good on you though. I love it. You sport the Seattle well.
I told you that teal color. I was born bleeding teal and orange, so it only fits with the dolphin colors.
I'm glad you chose the teal and not the orange.
Yes,
because you would have got one. All the other orange teams would have gotten you way more grief. If you had chose the Giants, you would have gotten nothing but grief from the Dodger fans. Had you chose the Miami Marlins or Miami,
the Marlins,
I would have given you nothing but grief being a Philly fan. So
I can't do it.
At this point, I think you chose well, especially with how hot Seattle has been. We can get into some baseball news later. We got to focus on football, though, as we did yesterday. Justin Fields is back on the practice field, so thank goodness his toe injury does not look like it's that crazy. All of our worry yesterday to start the show mean nothing, which happens.
I mean, when you have a stretcher come out for a toe injury.
Well, and we didn't even know it was a toe injury until well later.
Yeah,
all they were saying was lower leg. And honestly, we're obviously not live from New Jersey, so I don't think we were there when it happened. All we can do is tell you what the news is telling us. And usually when you add up lower leg injury, carted off the field,
and usually when you're doing a morning show, it's shows in the afternoon that get the breaking news.
Right. Not trying to pat us I'm just saying I'm happy to hear that Justin's injury is not that serious.
Me too.
He's obviously back on the practice field. This will affect him though.
That's what I was just going to ask you.
Now, we know these injuries tend to lag. And you're never fully healed when they say you're going to be fully healed. I know a lot of athletes like to say they're back at 100%. But there's always lagging injuries that, go on with the season. I'm sure he'll probably be dealing with his toe injury well into the season as well. So what does that mean for his mobility? What does that mean for his game in general? Because we all know Justin Fields loves to run and make plays. So let's start with the first piece of audio we have here from Freddie and Harry about how this is going to affect Justin's game going forward.
You're talking to someone right now who, on my big toes, used to have to get cortisone shots in them from time to time. I used to have to put toe spacers in my toes. So all the people out there, it's just a toe. Well, guess what, folks? When I look at Justin Fields and his athleticism, which is a huge part of his game,
Sure.
Well, even though it's just a toe, it can affect the athleticism that he has and what he wants to do on a football field.
Absolutely. And that's the one thing that I'm concerned about if I'm a Jets fan is how long is this going to affect him? Obviously, I would assume late in the season, you would have figured this out at some point where it doesn't affect you as much. But Justin loves to run, and he's very good at it. That's kind of what made him so successful with the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Is Arthur Smith's offense requires a quarterback that can be somewhat mobile. That's why I'm kind of concerned about Aaron Rodgers and how their offense is going to look this year, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Justin, I feel like this is going to affect him at least for the first 4 weeks. We might not see him be as mobile, and if he is, it may not be as effective.
And we'll see how he feels after a day of practice.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like you said, with mobile quarterbacks, you don't want any foot, toe, whatever injury.
Ankle, anything lower body, no. It's a big no-no. So that's what I'm worried about. But I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think he's actually going to be able to reach that height this year? Are the Jets going to be as good as we think they are?
I don't think they're going to be good. I just don't. I've said it multiple times, and we'll get deeper into, team by team. But when it comes to the Jets, I do like the aggressive head coach with the defensive side, and that's what I always think of the Jets. I mean, I know you bring up the Sanchez years, but I always think those were the Rex Ryan defensive
100%.
coaches. And I think Glenn will bring in a heavy defense, but the other teams in that division, I mean, Buffalo, I think New England is taking a step forward, and I'm just lost with Miami, so I'll just skip over that one. But I will say that it is an upgrade from what, Rodgers had with the Jets. I think Fields will fit better, especially with the Brees Halls and the receiving core that they have over there.
Mhm.
But I don't have a high ceiling for the Jets, especially the first year.
I mean, I'm curious what we can pull off with this offense, right? At this point, it's really going to be how high Justin can take you because we've seen Garrett on this field, obviously, and how good he can be. The rest of the team, Brees Hall, if he does decide to stay there, because there are some looming concerns that he doesn't want to stay in New York and play for the Jets anymore. I'm not 100% sure if that's even going to be, or if that's going to be the case going forward, though, because obviously they had the same situation with Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, switch both of them around on it. So I'm going to probably admit that they could probably turn around Brees Hall in this too. However, I like you, Sparky. I don't have a high ceiling for the Jets. I would expect them to at least be contending for a 500 record with this team. But I need to see how good this offense can be before I know if the Jets can be a contender. You have a great defensive-minded coach, just like you said, and I think that's going to benefit them going forward. But I don't think the Jets' issues have ever really been on the defensive side.
Yeah.
They've always been on the offensive side. And now with this early injury of Justin Fields, you had obviously the situation with Aaron Rodgers before. Does this not raise concerns of maybe we need a backup plan? Maybe we need to pull in Atlanta Falcons where we have somebody behind him that's a starting caliber quarterback just in case. And honestly, here's Freddie from Freddie and Harry about how the Jets should feel about their quarterback room.
This is another instance where if you're the New York Jets, you got to have a quality backup quarterback. And they have one in Tyrod Taylor. I'd be in more of a panic mode if the backup quarterback was Zach Wilson. I'd be more of a panic mode if the backup quarterback was, let's say, like a Joe Flacco, for example, who still can play a little bit, but he's well past his due date. So by making sure that you have that quality backup quarterback who's played in that kind of system, who's played in that city and played for that organization. So whatever time he's going to miss, you got a guy, Tyrod Taylor, who will be on the field and say, hey, Justin, when this happens, look out for this. And Justin Fields has shown he's been a very astute student with this offense and a team having that support behind him.
Do you think Tyrod Taylor is enough for the Jets if Justin goes down?
No, and I disagree with everything he just said.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't see it. And taking shots at Zach Wilson and Flacco. I mean, Flacco could very well be quarterback one week one, and I still think he would be a better backup than Tyrod. Tyrod has or had, I'll make that an emphasis. It's had.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is injury prone as well. And when, he's one of those guys that could have a good game and then have 3 really bad games.
True.
And he almost reminds me of a Anthony Richardson type quarterback where he makes some good throws and then he throws a pick when you're first and goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen several games with Tyrod in the AFC East, and I don't see it. I think you want, obviously, your quarterback one, Fields. Let him off the leash. Let him do what he wasn't able to do with Chicago and Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh gave him a chance, but it was a short leash because Russell Wilson was breathing down his neck. And I think they pulled the trigger on that one a bit too early too.
Oh, I agree.
But I think having him with some veteran type coaches and a young team, I think you just let him play.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't work, then okay, then the experience is over and we tried. But I think this is the last chance I think Fields will get as a starting quarterback. And I think really that we talk a lot of bad talk about the Jets quarterback situation over the years, but I think this is a perfect fit for him.
Honestly, I think this is a great fit for him. I agree. And he's got the chemistry coming in with a lot of the players already. I'm going to disagree that I agree with you, Sparky, that Flacco would be a better backup in this situation. Not that I don't think Tyrod Taylor is a good backup, but I do think that Joe Flacco, being a veteran mind and obviously a proven starter, Freddie goes a little bit far to say that he's done and he's well past his prime. We get the age-wise, that's true, but Joe has shown nothing but consistency and being a dog on the field. So I'd say he's a pretty dang good backup for you regardless. Zach Wilson, though, I will agree. We've all seen what Zach Wilson looks like with the Jets. It's not going to change no matter who is at in front of him in the line or is catching the passes. It's Zach Wilson with the Jets. So that would have been the worst possible outcome for you. I don't think that the Jets are set at quarterback, though. I agree with you that Tyrod Taylor is a solid starter, or at least was a solid backup starter player at one point. We don't know what he looks like now, though. That was years ago.
He's coming off another injury.
Exactly. So realistically, I think as a mind, great person to have. But if you want that, sign him as a quarterback coach. I still say the Jets should go after somebody, maybe a Kirk Cousins or somebody of that nature that can at least be a really good backup to Justin. Maybe you don't go after Kirk because obviously Kirk would be competing for that starting spot. You would rather want somebody that's okay with taking a backup role to your starting guy, especially since you want to have all the confidence in the world that Justin's going to be that guy for you after just signing a contract with him. But I genuinely believe the Jets need to make at least one somewhat major move at the quarterback position just in case. Because if the last 2 seasons are any indication, you need a backup that's going to be capable of taking over this offense if Justin goes down. Justin's had his bang up history. He's had his injuries. So is he injury prone? I won't go that far, but we're already having a toe injury. That's not a good sign if you're a Jets fan or in the Jets organization. I think you got to go pick up somebody outside of Tyrod Taylor to maybe make this work a little bit better. I don't think Tyrod is the answer for you if Justin goes down. And if you're a Jets or if you're in the Jets team or in the organization or anything, you need somebody that's going to be able to step in and fill that role just as good as Justin did, if not better.
And this morning, listening to Unsportsmanlike, they announced, he was back, but they think that Tyrod, probably the same thing, but they were saying that they need to bring in somebody like Carson Wentz. And I'm like, I mean, you're kind of...
Yeah, I don't know. Again, Carson we're talking about injury-prone quarterbacks.
Exactly.
Here. Let's pick somebody who's a journeyman that maybe has had no history with injuries. That's why I'm saying Joe Flacco. Might be the best option.
Because the Browns came out yesterday saying that they're going to pick a quarterback sooner than later.
Right.
And maybe that's the odd man out. Maybe if it's not Flacco, maybe it's the what's the other veteran quarterback they have?
Kenny Pickett? Or are we talking about Deshaun Watson?
Pickett. No one's talking Watson. But no, maybe Pickett. Whoever is not the veteran staying with Cleveland.
Right. But honestly, if I'm Cleveland, I'm probably moving off of Pickett and putting Dylan Gabriel on the practice squad. I think,
really?
Well, just to hold on to Dylan Gabriel, just in case this whole thing with Joe Flacco doesn't work out, and then you have two quarterbacks that are at least somewhat capable.
I still think he's going to outplay Sanders this offseason or this training camp. I just think Gabriel has Obviously, he doesn't have the name recognition, but what I've seen in 2 or 3 days of camp, I mean, he's looked way better than Shador. But
I mean, that's
he
why I'm
doesn't have that
saying
name recognition.
well, that is the main thing, but also the size of him. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about Cam Ward and a lot of these other guys not being an NFL-sized quarterback. Dylan's definitely not.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. He's looked good in camp. Shador has also looked good in camp, though, and has had moments of looking better. That's why I'm saying that if we're going to go with the guy with the bigger upside, I gotta say Shador Sanders is the one with the bigger upside out of the two rookies.
Yeah.
So
yeah, with the upside.
and then if
for
you're going
sure.
to sit there, or if we're going to sit down and actually pick a veteran that is the best one to be not only backing your guy up, but just
learn
like
from.
Freddie said about the situation out in New York, you got to have somebody that's sitting on the sideline saying, "Hey, if he does this, you got to do this," and
And then
actually
hire him as a quarterback coach.
well, it's fair, but yeah. So you want both of that situations, though, right? If you're looking for a backup quarterback, so I would assume the Browns are going to do the right thing. But I mean, Browns are going to Brown.
We will see what we will see. We'll take our first break, and we'll come back and talk about the former Jets quarterback and other NFL news right here on the Early Bird Special.
Welcome back. This is the early bird special. More news out of the NFL and training camps. The Las Vegas Raiders have decided to move on from defensive tackle.
Thank you.
And look, man, Wilkins is a fantastic defensive tackle. There were injury problems, supposedly from what we've read, that the Raiders organization wanted him to get surgery on the foot. He didn't think surgery was necessary, but because they kept going back and forth about it, apparently they have been fighting about this since June. They have decided to just completely void his contract, waive him, and they are now disputing the $32 million that he is owed in his guaranteed money. The NFLPA put in a grievance against that yesterday on literally the last day they possibly could put it in. I'm going to start there real quick, Sparky. Clearly a move by the Raiders, right?
Wait till the last minute.
Wait to the very last second to drop him, so that way the NFLPA had little to no time to react to this. Does that kind of seem a little messed up to you?
Sounds like the Raiders.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, just thinking about that.
Oh, and then they have some insider release a video of him dancing in the weight room, which they ended up finding out it was last year's workouts. And I love Christian Wilkins, so I'm a little biased. I was sad to see him go, but I also understood we weren't gonna pay him $110 million. It just wasn't in the cards.
Right.
When you had to pay Tyreek and Tua and Waddle and some, Zach Sealer and some other guys. But, I wish him the best. I really, the back of my head, I'm thinking, come back to Miami, baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see it happening. I think he's gonna. I've said it all the way back into our podcast days. I didn't think he was going to be ready for week 1 anyway. So it was kind of a surprise move. But I mean, the Raiders, Pete Carroll and company, they know what they're doing. And I mean, it's not just the first time head coach.
Right.
He must have obviously not on the same page. Wilkins was there before Carroll was. Maybe he doesn't see that fit with this defense. But to wait until the last chance, last minute you can do it. I don't know how the grievance is going to work out. I know they obviously want that $35.2 million back, but looking at the guarantees, if they lose it, they're losing, $30+ million in their salary cap, not only this year, but next year as well. Yep. So, I mean, it's going to get interesting.
And that's the real big problem, right? I mean, the hit that this is going to be to your salary cap is ridiculous. And we never even got to see the Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins combo. Well, I shouldn't say never, but very
like 2 or
little
3 games. Yeah.
Very, very little did we get to see of that and what it could have been. So this does kind of bum me out in that area too. But if we're sitting here wondering if he's going to get his money, I believe he will get his money, his guaranteed cash, because at the end of the day, it's your body. If you do not feel that you need surgery, I do not feel that an organization could force you to get surgery.
And see, that's something I didn't know until this morning. I heard Schefter talking about it, and there is a clause in the contracts that say the teams can't force you to do really anything when it comes to surgery.
Right. But there are clauses in the contract as well that say that if you are not physically able to compete or play, that they could also void your contract and the money they owe you, which is where the Raiders are going with this.
But I'm wondering if that is something that they can do mid surgery, because they paid him from last year where the injury happened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it was something that, a firework issue or he sprained his
he did something knee
outside the facilities, I think that's where it's going to get fishy.
Mm-hmm. And then the other part of this that I would like to tackle as well is the Raiders were unhappy with Wilkins that he didn't want to do his rehab in Dallas. Not exactly sure why they would send him to Dallas for this. Maybe there's some specialists out there that I'm unaware of that take care of this exact problem. And if that's the case, then that's great. But do you feel like an organization should be able to tell you where you are able to rehab? Because at the end of the day, rehab is all about doing the work and really doing it properly in the right, what's the word I'm looking for? Like ambiance is the worst way to put it, but you know what I mean? Like in the right area, in the right group of people. So some people that you trust, physical therapists that you believe in and that you think are, looking out for your best interest at heart. So I don't blame Wilkins from not wanting to go to people. One, he probably doesn't know that well. And two, if he's already got guys that are willing to do that, why leave? You know what I mean? Like he's
I
taking
think
care of it
that comes.
himself.
I think that comes with a new coaching regime.
Right.
They have their own specialists. They have their own doctors, and forcing a guy to go to Dallas or whatever. I mean, I totally understand both sides of it, because if you're paying a guy, $30-40 million, you probably want him to follow your directions when it comes to rehab. But I also see the player's side. I've already been rehabbing this. I know where my body is, and I'm going to continue doing it the way I've been doing it.
Well, I feel like it's that too. Like it's just the comfort, like being comfortable with it and knowing that you're on the way of being healed. Because, I mean, if anybody's dealt with changing of doctors or changing a physical therapist, it's the most headache-inducing thing ever, because you essentially have to start from zero because they have no clue where you've been. So it's just it's probably really annoying on the athletic side of it as well. So that's got to factor into it too, right? So this entire relationship just seems to have spoiled since the June day or the June months. And at this point, he's up in the air. If he gets his money, then you could be looking at a situation where he can go sign with any team for any amount of money.
That's what I was thinking.
And it could benefit some teams who desperately need a defensive tackle. However, you are still taking on a player who potentially has a foot injury, and one that is lingering and has not been properly taken care of. If the Raiders are right, he did need surgery for this.
Come back home, baby.
I mean, I know a lot of Miami fans are hoping for that. I would like to see him reunite with the Dolphins, but we'll see what we will see in the coming weeks. I think it's more interesting that almost every single signing, or at least top signing from last year's free agency, is no longer with the team they were signed to outside of Kirk Cousins. And to be honest with you, if Atlanta probably had an opportunity and a good deal, Kirk wouldn't be there either. So at this point, I mean, I'm going to float this question to you and to all of our listeners. You can text in 661-842-2000. You can also call into that number as well if you would like, and join us here on the show. But was last year's free agency a wash? When you really look at the top free agents from last year, your Jonah Johnson's going to the Rams, and obviously Wilkins going to the Raiders, Kirk going to Atlanta, Gardner Minshew,
Devontae to the Jets.
It's all of them, every single one. Not a single one is playing on that team next year outside of Kirk Cousins
and Barkley.
But I mean, Barkley, we all knew he wasn't going nowhere.
Yeah, and Henry, it's the same things. But yeah, the other ones.
But outside of that, the major team changes, let's say that team changed free agency moves, are no longer there. So what do you guys think? Was last year's free agency market a wash? 661-842-2000. I'm going to say yes. Outside of the running backs, as we just mentioned, Barkley and Henry, who didn't really leave their teams, they just kind of re-signed a better deal with them. I think that this is completely one of those years where you look at it and say, wow, we wasted some money. Like, we wasted a lot of money for a lot of these players that did not work out in a single year. That's got to be
it is crazy to see that they're not there.
It really is. I mean, again, besides Barkley and Henry, who are obviously the outliers here, a lot of these guys we thought were going to work out great. Wilkins being one of the main ones, obviously mixing up with Max Crosby on this Raider front was going to be special. We were hoping Gardner Minshew was going to at least be able to settle into a solid spot. That didn't work out. I mean, the list goes on. It's just, what do you guys think? Are there any highlighted free agents that we aren't talking about that you guys want to highlight that did not do well last year and got paid for ridiculous amounts of money? Feel free to text in 661-842-2000. We're going to take a quick break and pay some bills. On the other side, we will get into the Pittsburgh Steelers. Are they a top 10 team like Rodgers thinks, or are they just kind of dwindling out in front of everybody's eyes? We'll talk about it right here on the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. It was brought up to me. You know how I've been saying they go in threes? I know we've all been talking about Theo,
Fives.
and yeah, I think we're in fives right now. That was
Same.
incredible.
Crazy week.
I didn't realize so many people are fast. I'm like, dude, are we going to lose a person a day? Who's going today? Like,
Got a
it's
funeral
nuts.
to go to today.
Yeah.
It's been a rough week.
It really has. But let's talk about something on a more lighter note. Before we get to Pittsburgh Steelers, I know I said that before the break, but we just had some breaking news come out that Jordan Hicks of the Browns has announced his retirement after 10 years in the NFL. This is a very, very consistent starting linebacker, pretty solid. I would say pass coverage linebacker is the best thing he was known for. But a third round pick out of the 2015 draft, well exceeded everybody's expectations, playing with the Cardinals and the Vikings and so many other teams. But he apparently did not show up to the first 2 days of training camp dealing with a personal matter. I would assume that personal matter was probably something on the family related side, which led to this decision. So we wish him well in his retirement. And who knows, the way NFL players have been the last couple of years, he's only 33 years old. Maybe this is just a 2-year thing or a 1-year thing. He tries to come back here in the next year or two. But Jordan Hicks, if you're a Browns fan, has retired. So he will no longer be on the team next year. But moving over to the other team of the AFC North, Aaron Rodgers is back in the media because he has come out and said that he believes the Pittsburgh Steelers are in an elite group of 10 to 12 teams that can win the Super Bowl. Let's hear from Aaron Rodgers real quick.
The last several years, of course, were troubling for a lot of people who grew up loving Hulk Hogan.
Wrong.
That's Rosenberg.
See what happens when you get old.
I mean, again, that's apologies on our part. Here is Aaron Rodgers, starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I think most of the 32 teams would probably say something to that accord at this time of the year. But I think that there's really only 6 to 8 that really have a legitimate chance. Sometimes it's 10 to 12, and there's teams that surprise you. But I would say on paper, we're probably one of those 10 to 12.
High praise from the quarterback. I am not 100% sure how this would work, but is he into Lulu, Sparky?
Yes.
Or why? I mean, do you not believe that Mike Tomlin can lead this team to at least a playoff berth?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, not this team. I could go into deeper, but I just don't. I've seen Aaron Rodgers play the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm not impressed. I think it was a reach with the Steelers' whole organization to try to get somebody in here. I think they would have been safer just staying with Fields and drafting a rookie. But I mean, they think they're in a win now mode. I just think they got the wrong quarterback.
Well, their original plan, I think, was Justin Fields, if I remember reading
And
correctly.
Stafford and a couple
that
other
didn't work
guys.
out. Yeah, obviously. But here we are. I don't believe that I would say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are in that 10 to 12 range of for sure people who can go after a championship. Well, are they a surprise team? Possibly. But I need to see what happens in week 1 when you take on the Jets. And if we see Aaron Rodgers of old, sure, I could sit there and say you're a contender. But I agree with you, Spark. Like, from what we've seen in the last couple of years, I am very skeptical if that is what we are going to get. And honestly, I agree with Chris Canty that Pittsburgh might be in trouble of being at the bottom of the division this year.
The Pittsburgh Steelers finished last in the AFC North, and the franchise and Mike Tomlin mutually agreed to part ways after the season. This has a lot less to do with confidence in the Cleveland Browns and more to do with a lack of confidence in the Pittsburgh Steelers and what they got going on this year. Oldest team in the AFC, second oldest team in the entire league, and the most expensive defense in the entire league. And a washed up Aaron Rodgers going into his age 42 season. In what world is that a formula for success in today's game?
He's not wrong.
I do like their defense.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up. The defense is what really kind of turns me around on this. If we were talking about a defense that didn't pull in Jalen Ramsey and re-sign TJ and really have been the solidified consistency of the Steelers that we've been known to see for the last 2 decades on the defensive side of the ball, I would say that Aaron isn't Delulu. But that's kind of the thing that I wanted to get to is I have seen in my lifetime, at least, plenty of teams led by the defense making it to the Super Bowl. Let us not forget the Bears when they took on the Colts. And, the Brian Urlacher-led defense took them all the way there because it definitely wasn't Rex Grossman. 100% wasn't the guy from Florida. So at this point, is he in major Delulu land? I would say no, only because of that defense. But they are not going to get there because of Aaron Rodgers. I think you're going to need some incredible coaching and incredible defensive play from all of those high-paid players that Chris Canty is talking about in order for the Steelers to be a Super Bowl contender like Aaron Rodgers is claiming. But I'm still skeptical like you are, Sparky. I need to see an offense that is willing or is able to score at least 28 points a game.
Yeah, and I don't see it. I see, 10, 14 point average, for the Steelers offense, but you never know. I mean, the Steelers defense has shown us over the years that they can win games and they can keep high scoring teams into, low scoring games. I just can't put anything behind Rodgers. And yes, I think the running game, I think it'll be a first run team. And I want to see what Rodgers can do in a play action situation type offense, because I think that's where he has the option of showing his arm strength and having, big receiver like DK. I mean, it could only be a positive thing, but I also saw, I mean, we talked about this yesterday about, other quarterbacks that throw interceptions in camp. And of course, the first one he throws in camp is a pick, which is going to happen. But I just don't have any faith in Rodgers.
I get that. I'm just, again, theoretically, right? This offense should benefit Rodgers, because when you really saw Aaron Rodgers at his best when he was with the Packers is when they were able to utilize the play action pass and let him throw deep to Jordy Nelson or whoever was running the deep route at the time, Randall Cobb, doesn't matter. That is where you saw the best of Aaron Rodgers. But again, that was how long ago?
Oh, wow.
So where are we now with Aaron's health? Obviously, he's coming off of the lower leg injury. He may not have the arm strength he used to have. My only concern is that we are looking at an aged Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to be able to play that way still in an offense like, Arthur Smith is known to run, which will be run first, as it always is? And can he be effective in that offense, right? So we will see that what happens with this. I agree with you that, first pass being a pick is not exactly ideal, especially for a veteran quarterback. I know yesterday we said we would like to see that from the rookies because you want to get that out of your system. A veteran, completely different question here.
And he came out and said, I'm going to throw picks. I'm going to throw touchdowns.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. If you were here during the stuff before this, the practice before this, maybe you weren't throwing that pick.
Yeah.
If you were here doing the work with the team, and I realized you went and got married, so good for you. Maybe that was the personal issues you were going through. But
is that an issue?
That's exactly the point I was going to bring up. I was like, is that really an issue? But no, it's like you could have just said, hey, I'm going to get married, then I'll sign the contract.
I will say that I am eyeballing those tight ends in Pittsburgh.
Oh, 100%.
Because I think Rodgers will feed those tight ends.
We're going to see Rodgers feed a tight end more than he fed Michael Finley.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be very beneficial for
tight
you.
ends.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a fantasy football player, very much look into Freiermuth, look into Jonnu Smith and that defense in Pittsburgh. Those three are going to carry you a lot this year.
Would you, how high would you put DK?
Top 15.
Really?
I would. Yeah, just because of the consistency of it. And again, when Aaron finds one guy that he likes as a receiver, oh my God, does that guy get past? Everything goes to that.
Would you take him over Devontae in LA?
No, absolutely not. No, because Devontae is in a much better situation offensively. I think the scheme fits better for him. And Devontae's playing off of Puka Nacua, and you're not going to double both of them. So at this point, if I'm talking about a Matthew Stafford, who in most people's minds is still a top 10 quarterback somehow, we won't get into that again. I would say Devontae is in a much better situation than DK Metcalf with Aaron Rodgers. Plus, again, we're talking about an Arthur Smith-led offense, right? That's going to be run first. And if you do get a pass from a wide receiver, it's going to be maybe 8 targets. So compared to an LA Rams offense where Devontae could get targeted double-digit times if it's a good game. So, yeah, no, I'm going with Adams.
Well, we'll take our final break of the hour. 24KG, our wrestling guru, will join us at 8 o'clock. We'll talk some Hogan matches, some memories with Hogan. Plus, Burdick has a nice list or a topic that we're going to get into that I think you'll enjoy right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 1230 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. Early Bird Special, final hour, segment of the first hour.
Look for it starts tomorrow.
Yes, it
I got
does.
some buddies going out there.
Yes. Too poor.
It's just, I'm poor, but I don't think even if I had the money,
You
I would
know
go to
what?
that one.
No, Wolf Warrior was I think that's one of the fond memories I just leave back there. Because you're right, like one of those things are brutal on the body.
Yeah, you think you're getting old. Just
Yeah,
go to a 3
go to a
4 day
3-day work.
break.
Yeah, exactly. Ah, good lord. Let's shift over to baseball news real quick before we get into wrestling. We'll talk about the passing of Hulk Hogan. Happened right at the end of our show yesterday, so we didn't get a lot of time to talk about it. So we'll bring in 24 kg to talk more about the life of Terry Bollea. But at this point, let's talk about baseball. We had a major trade yesterday as Sparky's Seattle team has picked up a first baseman that can launch as many home runs as their boy Cal, as Josh Naylor, former Guardian, is headed to Seattle. How do you feel about that, my friend?
I love it. I know we've had issues at the first base, and I don't think they're done. Personally,
Oh no, I think there's a couple more moves that need to be done here.
I've heard some rumors of, which you'll have to help me with this name.
Suarez, probably.
Yep.
Yeah, Suarez from the Arizona Diamondbacks will be moved at some point. I've heard that there's a 90% chance of that by MLB insider Jeff Passan on multiple shows. I'm hoping it's to Philly, if I'm being completely honest to you. But I don't want to give up guys like Alec Boehm, so I could live if we don't get him. Where he ends up, I just hope it's not a team that, already has a ridiculous amount of sluggers. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
You don't have to say it.
I don't have to say nothing. I don't gotta say nothing.
My thing is if the Mariners are going to put it in overdrive and get past the Astros before the playoffs, and I know there's a tight wild card race, so I think that's what we have to do.
Oh yeah.
And we beat the hell out of the Astros a couple weeks ago, so I don't think it's going to be too difficult. But it is the second half of the season. What, we got 60-something games left, 50-something games left?
Absolutely. You're still looking at a good portion of the season. You have some time, but now is not the time where you really want to start fizzling out in baseball. You really want to keep yourself in that hunt, at least for your division title. If you're looking at the games today, a handful that you should be watching. I guess the Marlins and the Brewers will be an interesting one, with the Brewers at the top of the Central, but the Cubs are right on their heels. Phillies take on the Yankees. That'll be a fun game between two slugging absolute monster houses. Dodgers taking on the Red Sox in Fenway. You Dodger fans, that's a be a fun one for you, as Mookie Betts will be there for the second time since the trade, if I am not mistaken. I believe he's only played there once since Boston had moved on from the superstar. And he is, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the numbers were somewhere in the 400 range with a home run and a handful of RBIs. So if you're a Dodger fan and you guys are cold right now, you need another series victory as you got against the Twins. So the Chicago Cubs will be taking on the Chicago White Sox. I know that's not a huge game, but I mean, the Battle of Chicago is always entertaining if you're a baseball fan, as well as we got the A's against the Astros, Angels and Mariners. Obviously, we want Sparky's team to get off on the right start here, and the Mets and the Giants are probably the biggest games the day that you'll have to look out for. Sparky, how you feeling? How we feeling about this series going in? I know you weren't exactly happy when your team lost the other day, but
of course I don't like it when they lose it all. But
I know, but as I have to remind you, it's baseball.
They beat the Angels last night, and I think they'll continue to do that. I'm really hoping that the Phillies beat down the Yankees.
Oh, I think everybody
because
is.
We need the Yankees and the Red Sox to continue to lose, but they're 5 games out of first place with Houston, so we'll see. Just beat down the Angels and don't worry about anything else.
At this point, it's the Angels, so I think you're going to be sitting pretty in this series. Look, baseball, man, I have, much like many other sports organizations, I'm starting to feel bad for the Angels, but at the same time, I'm starting to be that person that I don't expect much from you.
It's those trap series, man.
It really is.
Can't lose games like
obviously you have series like that, but at this point, if you're the Seattle team, I think that you're sitting pretty looking into this. And with the Astros going against the A's, sorry, brother, but you ain't moving anywhere closer in that race for the division.
We'll see. We will see. I know I was happy. I walked in and got a box from Fanatics, and my Mariners hat showed up. And then about 10 minutes later, my buddy texted me with the trade. I was like, okay, let's see. But we've got a long season, so I'm excited. I'll be watching tonight. It's a long season. I'm trying not to get too invested or get my fillers hurt. But I think the Mariners will we'll get the playoffs. I don't know if it'll be the division, but like you always say, it matters on who's hot at the right time. So,
especially in baseball, that's the big thing for me. I know our guy Daily Dave believes it's more of the health. I agree with him in that sense that health is a big factor in this.
When you have the all-star team on your roster,
yeah, it makes it a little bit easier to, lose some of those all-stars at certain points of the season, doesn't it? Two quick retirements before we get to our break and then get to our guy 24 kg. A two-time Gold Glove recipient, Nick Ahmed, has retired after 10 seasons in the majors. The 35-year-old spent 10 seasons with the Diamondbacks. I believe it was 11 seasons in the majors as he bounced around almost every other team in the NL West in his final year, amongst others. And at this point, two-time Gold Glove recipient, fantastic career. I believe his hitting was about 200 as well. A very solid shortstop for the Diamondbacks for a long, long time. He had a great career. So again, much like Jordan, we appreciate you and wish you well in your retirement, as well as veteran pitcher, 18 seasons in the game. Jesse Chavez has decided to hang it up, as well as the right-hander at 41 years old has just said, you know what? It's time. I'm moving on. Why is it always pitchers, though? For baseball fans, feel free to text in 661-842-2000. Usually we see the fielders and the hitters go around their mid to late 30s, but pitchers for some reason always believe they can go into their late 40s.
Yeah, we had a 45-year-old pitcher.
Rich Hill, exactly.
I'm just talking 5 or 6 innings.
And I'm telling you right now, Rich is going for that record. He's going to take Jackson's record next year. He'll be playing for somebody else. I don't know who it will be, who's going to give him that shot, but I'd love to see him break that record next year. But again, much like Ahmed, thank you so much, Mr. Chavez, for your 18 seasons on 9 different major clubs as a pitcher, 41 years old. Well-deserved, sir. And honestly, at this point, enjoy your retirement. As I say with every athlete, you did your due diligence. Hopefully you made your money and you enjoy the rest of your life, because that's what we can all hope for these athletes. We got to take a break, though. On the other side, we're going to talk the passing of the great Hulk Hogan.
Take your vitamins.
Take your vitamins, brother. We'll be here on the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m., ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special, Hour 2. Yes, yesterday we lost one of the wrestling greats, Hulk Hogan, right at the end of the show. So obviously we had to call in our guy 24 kg to talk about the life of Mr. Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea. I'm pronouncing that correctly. Probably not. I'm awful at that. I apologize. But KG, how are you, my friend? How you feeling?
I'm doing all right. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we're good. I'm just
all right.
I know you were texting me.
Crying or anything, right?
No, not in the background.
No. I was expecting, to hear like maybe the Undertaker music playing when we came in.
No,
I went with Hogan.
Yeah,
we'll be a little bit more respectful. I get it. We're gonna separate a little. There he is.
That's messed up.
There he is.
Rest in peace.
Well, we can't get Paul Bear to give Mr. Hogan a do-over, but what we can do is separate the life of Terry Bollea.
Bollea, thank you. I knew I was saying it wrong. I was like,
it's okay, folks.
I look at it, I want to say it the like Spanish way, but I know it's not that way.
It's like Naomi saying Stephanie Vaquer.
Yeah,
But we're gonna separate Terry from Hulk because one thing that's undeniable is his contributions to the wrestling industry, and we're not gonna say what could have been. We're gonna talk about what is, and what is are facts right now, folks. So I know everybody wants to share some memories or things online that they've experienced or watched from Hogan's body of work. But let's just get to the meat and potatoes here, folks. Without Hulk Hogan, we probably wouldn't be doing what we're doing, discussing what we're doing in this capacity. And for every other journalist or aspiring podcaster that covers sports entertainment, without Hulk Hogan, we wouldn't have a lot of people that followed and were raised off of a wrestling generation of seeing a guy who behind the scenes was controlling, egotistical, super manipulative, but changed the course of how we view things now, personality-wise, physicality, just the whole presentation and entertainment-wise of that, and just some facts that we could go down. But before we do that, is there anything that you guys would like to speak on? Because it happened at the end of the show yesterday. We really couldn't go into much because it was such a hot news day, so just letting you kick it off first.
I'll go first just because I'm the oldest.
You're the
I'm
veteran.
the vintage. I mean, I grew up in the prime Hogan days, and when I was young, super young, like 4 or 5 years old, I was a Hogan guy, but that was what was force fed to me and kids in the 80s. But as I grew up and watched more wrestling, I moved over into the Ultimate Warrior and the Undertaker. But like you said, I mean, much respect on the sport entertainment style, because we wouldn't have what we have now. A lot of these wrestlers, they grew up the same way watching Hogan, and there's a long list. But at first I was like, okay, well, we've known he's had health issues, and the last time we saw him in a WWE, how he got the booing with the Netflix debut. Yeah. But I go back in his prime. I wasn't a WCW guy. I say it every week. So I didn't get into the Hollywood Hogan, the NWO type stuff. But I did, I saw a list that the WWE put out with fans that voted on their top 5 matches. Well, we can get into that in a bit later, but I have to have respect and love because that was a big chunk of my childhood with Hulk Hogan and Suburban Commando and Mr. Nanny and all these low budget.
No holds bars,
which was the best one.
What's that I smell?
But in the back of my head last night, my wife was laughing at me, but I immediately thought of, Macho Man is sitting there at the gate just waiting for Hogan.
It's gonna be a heavenly smackdown.
But I have to throw out some love and rest in peace. And I know he had some family drama with his daughter, and it's always sad to see one of your legendary icons pass. I mean, this has been a rough week. I grew up as a diehard Aussie fan too, so it's been a rough week.
Again, they go in 3s, but apparently they go in 5s if you look at it. But I don't know. Being a younger fan, I said this on the Greg Kerr show yesterday. I didn't grow up with Hulk Hogan as the wrestler. I really grew up with Hulk Hogan as the actor, and really was told that he was a wrestler. And I got to see a lot of the NWO stuff. Don't get me wrong. but it is more. I respect him for what he did for the game. Outside of that, I kind of echo Seth Rollins' sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
You could look at that up. I don't have to go into it. I'm not going to be hateful to
That's
a man.
exactly what he said too.
That's past, but
Yeah.
I am kind of a person that I weigh who you are as a person, not just in your profession, but as you are in public as well.
It matters.
It does matter. So Terry, peace out, dude.
Yeah.
Hulk, sorry to see you go. That's the way I look at it.
Most definitely. And for folks that don't really know more about Hulk Hogan versus the last few years, which has been really just embarrassing and detrimental to his legacy, really harmed his legacy on what it presented in the wrestling world, I would have to say this. If you look at just that, of course it looks bad, especially when you don't have a chance to redeem yourself entirely, truthfully, honestly, from the heart, which he didn't.
But did he really want to, though?
He didn't. We all know that. He was a known racist.
A lot of it.
Yeah, he was a known racist and a liar, an embellisher, but to what he did in his earlier days athletically, we're going to talk about that briefly, because personally, we could do a whole nother episode about the dark side of the ring episodes and all the folklore 100%. That is in wrestling. So with Hulkamania, his rise really began in the late 70s, early 80s. We could skip past the whole, working for Vince McMahon Sr., him getting fired initially because he did the role in Rocky. Now let's pause right there. This is what really kicked off the whole exposure of sports entertainment to Hollywood. Vince Sr. was not really cool with that. Vince McMahon was. So once he took over WWF at the time, he brought Hogan into Flagship, this newly branded company, with developing relationships with MTV at the time. For those that remember, MTV was all about the music, the rock stars, the whole integration of movies and music happened with one of the first culminations of WrestleMania. Now, speaking also with WrestleMania, how it changed the game of how we look at wrestling pay-per-views and PLEs, mainly because of Hulk Hogan becoming the first certified top guy. The billing was always booked around him. He headlined the first 8 to 9 WrestleManias. He's one of the first wrestlers to say at the time to express having creative control in his contract, which was practically unheard of to be voiced out in front of people. We could go over the steroid trials with him and Vince McMahon. There were a lot of dark clouds in his era through WWF. But once he left, because the gimmick at the time, to say your prayers, eat your vitamins, was becoming very worn on the fans, and how you say pushed on us. And that example of how we see superstars pushed on us today stems from the Hogan effect of too much. What else can we do? We're booking all on one guy and everything else falls around us to the floor, and it's hard to pick back up and rebuild that person's character. Much like what happened to Brett in the WrestleMania, I believe it was 8 or 9 match with Yokozuna, and him pulling a fast one at the end, which it really showed the depths this man would go to ensure his own success, to be at the forefront. Now, once his release from that happened the second time, he found a brief break, a hiatus in movies and film, which we grew up watching, that we just talked about, and found his way right back to wrestling with a company called WCW, headed by Ted Turner, who was head of TBS, TNT, and wanted to go into business against Vince McMahon. Now, think about this. Vince McMahon, in essence, created the Hulk Hogan character along with Terry Bollea. For him to go over to WCW and almost put them out of business for 83 weeks straight was a real, kicking the balls right there. Yeah. So we see this happen. Let's flash forward. NWO, whole career resurgence. This man had some very memorable moments in his career, from the slam with Andre, his feud with Macho Man and Warrior, being the third man, all these things that refaced wrestling in a sense to where we look at it as sports entertainment now is because of Hulk Hogan.
So to stem off of what you just said, so we're all different generations. So when you think of Hogan as a wrestling fan, which match really sticks out to you?
Andre and Hulk. One everyone talks about, the slamming of Andre. I mean, WrestleMania.
And watching those documentaries and hearing the whole story building up to it.
Yeah, and it's really what set the tone for him in his entire career. I know we talked about how he's the guy who mainlined WrestleMania, I believe 8 of the first 9 of them and all of that, but none of that would happen if he doesn't slam Andre.
Yeah.
If he doesn't prove that he can be the guy.
Which wasn't the first time he actually slammed Andre.
No,
They
not
had
at
done
all.
that previous times, but it was the first time for a pay-per-view for that to get over. But my opinion on that question that you just asked, Spark, would be The Rock versus Hogan. We seen a real live, current day face heel turn between 2 characters who went in on totally different ends of that match. That was almost a 3rd, 4th, 5th revitalization for Hogan's character and career, which he went on to win his 6th championship, which was the undisputed title at the time, totaling all his reigns to about 1,477 days, actually 474. So, you know,
and that was the passing the torch type deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, so yes. They had to have Roman Reigns break that record entirely, you know, or come close to it.
Yeah.
Because the things that he was going through, the controversy outside of the business, we're starting to pile up so high it was overshadowing his accolades in his career.
So I mean, I feel bad because that was one of the matches I'd never seen, and over the weekend I will watch that. I did see some highlights. Growing up, I mean, obviously the Hogan Andre, you know, I was too young, but I've watched the matches. I've watched all the WrestleManias.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a hell of a match, but that was, you know, Andre passing the torch. So
exactly,
most definitely
one of my favorites, and it's a close one. Obviously, the one with the Warrior was him passing the torch to the Warrior, which didn't turn out because everyone found out the Warrior wasn't really a wrestler. He was just, you know, eye candy for, you know, Vince and the bodybuilding, you know,
culture
body. Yeah, but
the IBF and everything else that was yeah.
But one that sticks to me is the WrestleMania 6 with Randy Savage. I think that was one of my favorite. I could throw in some matches he did with the Undertaker, but those weren't PLEs. That was, you know, the Undertaker growing into that character. But I would have to go with the Macho Man, because that's when you really got to see 2 icons go at it with, obviously, this did not bringing up the Andre thing, because that was, you know, Andre on his way out and he could barely move in that match. And once, you know, they ended up that match early because his back and his injuries. But this was prime Macho Man, prime Hogan when they had their match in WrestleMania. So that's the one that sticks with me.
What they would refer to back then as the golden era. And before we move on to the next jump, you know, I got to sneak this one in there. Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels. We know what kind of sandbag show that was.
Yeah.
And how Michaels felt about working with Hogan and the crap that was built into that. Fans go back, watch that, and they talk about that more so than anything because of the way Shawn Michaels sold. Now, later on in Hulk Hogan's career, as he was inducted into the Hall of Fame around 2005, he also became partners with, I believe, Dixie Carter and Jeff Jarrett, who founded TNA Global Force Wrestling, which now stems as his 3rd official promotion he built and helped get off the ground, which we watch TNA today, whom are partnered with WWE and TKO right now. Now, unfortunately, things get spotty, not as far as record, but as far as performance, you know, appearances, incidents in the media that really started to flagship, you know, some trouble in Hulk Hogan's real personal life, you know, issues with the television show, you know, everybody, Hogan Knows Best, his fallout with his children, his wife, the Bubba the Love Sponge, the footage with Gawker, and things of that nature that just really showed, you know, he's human, subject to being flawed, but at 50 years old, you can't make excuses for saying those kind of things, doing those kind of things, and behaving just like that. So it took away the essence of a lot of people's look at, dang, this was a part of my childhood. This dude really inspired me to, you know, do the right thing. And when you see that, is, you know, it's kind of hard to really separate the person from the character. But in this instance, we have to reflect back more so on his career and not his personal choices and mistakes.
Well, both of music guys, and I'm going to float this out there just because it came to my head, but would you kind of compare this to the Michael Jackson situation? where you have to separate Michael's music from Michael the person, much like we have to do with Hulk Hogan.
Well, in any case like that with R. Kelly and so forth,
R.
and
Kelly would be a great
numerous
example.
examples, people are always going to look at the body of work and not really care about the person involved or behind it. In this instance, since we feel so connected as wrestling fans, and in this day and age where the curtain is pulled back and the sheets are peeled up so you can see what's going on, you can't help but to feel let down in an aspect where reality is suspended, but you would still expect these people who come in, do these jobs and play these characters, knowing that they're role models to children and so forth, to hold themselves to a moral standard of not doing that. Not just saying not to do it, but, don't get caught. Because he was more so about, just don't get caught doing it, which holds no accountability for that kind of behavior, which is damaging to the longevity of his career.
And relationships.
Yes, and personal relationships. So, me growing up, being from the Bay Area, I was talking about this earlier yesterday with my family. There was a memory we were all talking about where I was too young to remember, but there were pictures that I got to get my hands on of going to the Cow Palace. My mom took me, my cousins, and some more family to go see Jake the Snake, Bam Bam Bigelow, Hulk Hogan, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, early 90s, and to hear about that and to see how wrestling is embedded in each and every one of our histories growing up. Doesn't matter what color you are, what religion you are, it's something we all gravitate to as a source of entertainment. This is a big blow to the industry, not something that people really would feel like, because if you look online, there's people saying terrible stuff, but we got to remember, a woman lost her husband, children lost their father, and that family lost somebody that they loved.
Yeah.
Now, that's as nice. That's as nice as I'm gonna put it. In that aspect, respectably.
Well, and
respectably.
The one thing that I can say, I shouldn't say the one thing, but one thing that I can say about Hulk Hogan and Terry, both, is he loved his fans.
Definitely.
And you see it in every video. I mean, I referenced it yesterday on the Greg Kerr show. There's a video going around right now of a young fan walking up to him at a signing, all decked out in a costume and doing his best impersonation. Yeah. It's a fantastic video, and he is eating it up.
Yeah, that was at Hogan's shop in Florida.
Exactly. Like, he loves it. He loved anybody who would ever do an impersonation of him.
Yeah, and he killed it.
Yes, and he would turn around immediately and give you one back. Even if he was walking around just as his normal self, he would immediately turn it on and be Hulk Hogan for you for 10 seconds and then turn it off again. Like, he loved his fans. He loved that interaction with them. So that's why I don't feel like there may be a part of this that he may have been just a product of his time. I think that is still a factor in it, but just there are redeeming qualities to who he was as a person. And if you are a fan of Hulk Hogan, I promise you, he was a fan of you.
Now, we still have to talk about Real American Freestyle, which never really got off the ground, was just integrated. Kurt Angle, Eric Bischoff is still going to head that up and see that company through their initial launch and maybe gain some traction. And also there's Real American Beer, which is honestly liquid crap, but somebody has to run that place. Well, okay.
So Real American Beer will most likely, unfortunately, fizzle off because it never really got the traction to begin with.
Did it have fizz to begin with?
No, that's the point. Like, he tried, he did his damn best to be a good promoter, but it just didn't work out.
Flat beer.
However, the wrestling promotion that you just brought up, do you believe that the passing of Hulk Hogan is going to be a positive for them? Because obviously that means that more eyes are going to be on the product. And as we've said, all publicity is good publicity.
3 things are going to help that place save it or sink it. 1 is the talent. 2 is the production. 3 is going to be how they execute the first 2. That's it. The rest will fall in place. If it's good, it'll find a TV spot. If it's good in that aspect, it'll gain ratings. If it's good in that aspect, from those first 2, it's already garnished enough money for somebody to seek interest and invest.
And honestly, it's already headed by 2 of the best. You just named Kurt Angle and Eric Bischoff, who people, if you don't know who Eric Bischoff is, was the guy who headed WCW and pretty much led the entire Monday Night war against Raw and dang near beat Raw at one point. So
83 weeks straight.
You could honestly say that they're going to be okay, but I feel like the publicity from this is going to at least get more people interested in seeing what Hulk's last project was. You know what I mean? Like, what was he working on over here, and what is the product that he was hoping to provide to you?
Now, one person I want to give a shout out to in remembrance that people might not be aware of is superstar Billy Graham. If you look at superstar Billy Graham, he was really the blueprint for Hulk Hogan before Hulk Hogan, from the feathered boas, the handlebar mustache, the blonde hair, the bragging about his pythons.
I still say the handlebar mustache was because he was a bass player.
Hey, bass players just got really dope handlebar mustaches.
I'm just
saying,
shout out to
all my bass playing homies out there. They can rock for that. But nonetheless, the people that inspired Hulk Hogan are also included in the legacy that this man created and embodied in a character that was basically the wrestling version of Superman. Because of Hulk Hogan, we get our John Cena's, we get our now billed as top guys, because without that, we wouldn't have what we have now. And maybe the industry wouldn't be how it is. It probably would in some way, shape, or form. You know how these time displacement theories go. If it wasn't him, it would have been somebody else. But really, would it have been?
Would it have been as successful as anybody else except Vince McMahon, though, to lead this? Because, again,
Dusty Rhodes turned him down. You guys all heard the story.
Right.
When he was like, I want to launch this and that. He's like, I don't know, baby. You know what I mean? You kind of young, man. You ain't got the experience,
he's a traditionalist, too. And at the time, they were still territories, and stepping into other people's territories was unheard of.
Very disrespectful at the time.
Yeah, incredibly disrespectful. Yeah, he was still wearing the mask at the time. That's how far back it was for those of you who are long-term fans. But I don't know. I will always give Hulk credit for that if it was not for Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon, we would not have wrestling the way it is today.
Well, since it's Friday and we'll have a SmackDown show, do you think this will lead over into some type of ceremony or some special acknowledgments?
I say 100%.
Yes, but what type is what we'll see when the show starts. Will they just do a nice video package, or are they going to have everybody come out there and do the 10 rings of the bell?
I would expect it.
I would expect the 10 rings of the bell, but
I'm telling you right now, on that 10th one, we're gonna see a crippling crossface in the Afterlife pay-per-view between Chris Benoit and Hulk Hogan at Hell in the Cell. You know, hey, I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet that would crack.
Oh yes. Well, before
the average wrestling fan, but we just can't repeat it on this show.
Yes. Well, I know Burdick's got a good question, but I want to run. There's 2 matches that are scheduled for tonight. Obviously, we know the Wyatt Six and Andrade and Rey Fénix will do their tag team match tonight, as well as Alexa Bliss and Roxanne Perez, which I'm looking forward to.
I'm taking Perez over Bliss and Wyatt's over Del Fantasma.
See, I'm going the opposite of the Alexa and Roxanne pick, because I do believe that they are trying to build this entire team of Alexa and Charlotte to be a formidable opponent to them. They're going to
get those titles.
And I do agree with you. I think that they're going to take those titles off of.
You know what? Let me stop shaking my head, because last week they were actually cheering for Charlotte, which shocked the crap out of me.
I love it.
They're turning, dude. We have been shocked in the past. We never thought John Cena would be booed, even if he was a heel, and he was very heavily booed.
And it's just so cool to see Charlotte smiling again, and it looks like she's having fun. But no,
that's good. That's definitely good.
Yeah,
Burdick brought in a good question or topic that I think both of us will enjoy. So.
I already know that he knows where I'm going to go with this, because it's been all over the internet. Everybody's been talking about it. If you've been watching, or if you've been a wrestling fan, you follow this stuff. But it has been now very widely known that the WWE has never had a male WWE champion born in the 90s.
It's crazy, right?
It's incredible. I didn't believe it at first, to be honest with you. I was like, no way. But then when you really look at it, no, it's actually true. A lot of these guys are born in the 80s and all of that. So I'm going to go down a list. And mind you, this is just male superstars. We've had female superstars that were born in the 90s, Io Sky being the most recent. Just one. She was born in the 90s. But there's a handful of male superstars that I'm going to name off in the WWE. I want the two of you to decide who you believe will be the first one to win that coveted WWE main title, okay?
All
right, so first off, we're going to start with both Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. You have Ludwig Kaiser, Bo Dallas, Ricky Saints. Those are the only ones that are. Oh, and Ray Phoenix. I will put Ray Phoenix in this list as well because he is technically there. Are any of those names people that you see potentially taking over the WWE? And if not, are they just going to pass over the entire millennial era and go straight to Gen Zs?
Montez has the greatest chance out of all those names.
See, exactly I disagree. I was going to say Ricky Saints. I think once
he has a chance, he has a chance.
I'm telling you right now, I don't think a lot of people are familiar with the work of Ricky Saints, and they are soon to be put on notice about the revolution.
I will say, out of that list, I would take either one of the Street Profits, but I would lean on Montez as well. But I don't see it happening. Sadly, I don't see any of them getting a heavyweight title.
And that's the weird part, right? Like,
Braun Breaker will have 5 reigns before any of those guys possibly.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we're completely jumping over the 90s babies. What's going on here? I feel a little bit attacked. I'm not going to lie.
And I was thinking Finn Balor because it is his birthday today, and I looked it up, and he's 81. He's older than me.
He's an 80s baby.
What?
Yeah.
Hey,
Finn looks great for his age.
Uncle Finn out there
today.
getting it in.
Dude, Finn looks amazing for his age.
45 today.
Well,
if I had to pick one, it had to be Ricky Saints. I think that his body of work just warrants that he's going to get at least a shot for one. I wish I could say Bo Dallas. I really do wish I could say Uncle Howdy.
In NXT, he was awesome.
Yeah, but outside of that, they haven't really pushed this this entire Wyatt 6 story yet. I mean, we're getting a little bit of it right now.
I'm glad they got the tag team titles, but I think it's the wrong tag team.
Yeah.
Very much
well,
so.
no, I like the Loomis and
I like
the
it,
AC team up.
but I think it could have been better.
All right, bump that. I got one more question for you guys. I got one more question for you guys. Greatest heel turn that you can just think of off your head right now in the last 20 years. And we're not just going to say hold it specifically to Hulk Hogan, but he's involved in a few.
Hogan is involved in a few, but I
got to go with the Cena one.
Cena's heel turn was legendary.
I think we're about to get the biggest.
We're gonna I was just actually gonna say that it's Cody.
That's why I brought this up. That's why I brought this up
because the biggest one here the next week.
Right now, people are feeling like Hogan #1, of course, the NWO, the inception of that group, that faction, one of the greatest factions of all time. John Cena, which is recent.
Mm-hmm.
For a while it was kind of battling out with Seth Rollins, stabbing Roman Reigns in the back, breaking up the Shield.
That will always have a special spot.
It's definitely in the top 5. Definitely in the top 5. There were some 4 Horsemen mentions in there when they turned on Sting and whatnot. But I would have to say top 3, maybe. Hogan, NWO, Cena, and that third one is basically based on your opinion and knowledge of wrestling. But potentially, if what is about to happen, of what we think is going to happen, we got to throw Cody's. We got to throw Cody's heel turn.
No. Biggest betrayal in wrestling is
Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels, barbershop scene, kick through the window.
That's a good one. That's a very good one as well. But no, the biggest betrayal in wrestling is when Stone Cold decided to team up with Vince McMahon for the first time and you say F you to all the fans.
You hurt my heart, bro. Why'd you bring that up?
Dude,
that Marty Jannetty Shawn Michaels was
Marty Jannetty was pretty crazy. But final
Marty Jannetty's actual real life.
Yes,
absolutely. Final before we let you go, because we do got to get to a break. Thoughts on Travis Scott being wiped from 2K25's DLC and replaced with El Grande Americano?
Nice.
Good. I'm glad.
And did you see Dijak got put in the game?
Bro, he's in Fortnite. He's in all kind of games. Travis Scott is in enough video games, man. Do your thing and make sure you got like safe shows for people.
Dijak. I'm sorry, New Jack. New Jack is in the game.
Well,
I'll take New Jack over Travis Scott any day. New Jack piss out of Travis Scott. I'm just saying.
He must have pissed somebody off up there because he is getting some fire.
I don't think
dragged by everybody.
Anybody in the WWE. I think the WWE just realized that we didn't want Travis there.
Yeah.
Hell, he came out smoking weed on TV, bro. Like, come on, you can't
right
do
next
that
to
with,
their top
you
kid star too.
Man, show me one job where you can walk in there and smoke weed on TV and think it's all cool to come back, and he still came back and hurt somebody at work. Man, bump that. Get Travis Scott out of here, bro. I'm rolling with Jelly Roll all day.
I was just about to say it's so
Bad
bad
Bunny,
Jelly Roll.
you know, give us the guys that actually care about wrestling if they're going to come in as celebrities, because when you take it all the way back to even WrestleMania 1 through 3, Cyndi Lauper, Muhammad Ali, and so forth, this music and wrestling connection has been standing for over 30 years plus. So let's don't screw it up now by having Travis Scott go in there and break somebody's eardrum like he did last time, trying to get it in, letting Dwayne pump him up. Hey, man, peer pressure to get somebody hurt. Chill out. Let the professionals do the professional stuff and you do the music. I'm just saying, respectfully.
Absolutely. That's exactly where I feel. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time as always. And we will talk to you on Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Have a good day, my friend. We got to take a break real quick, pay some bills. This is the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. Ooh, we haven't had Amy on the show.
Love me some Amy Winehouse.
Do you believe in that whole 27-year-old white lighter conspiracy? I've never believed in it, but I'm not gonna lie, I stayed away from white lighters when I was 27 just in case. Just in case. But that's absolutely taken way too soon. Thank you to our friend 24KG, as always, for coming on, talking all things wrestling with us. We had to talk about the passing of Mr. Hulk Hogan. Join us on Monday, though. We're going to have comedian Leanne Morgan. I keep meaning to pump this up, and we keep forgetting. She's going to be joining us on Monday right before her show here in Bakersfield. So if you're a comedy fan, listen out for that. She will be with us Monday, I believe, at 8 o'clock. If I'm not mistaken, I got to double check on the time, but she will be with us on Monday. Let's talk a little WNBA, though, before we shift over and get out of here for the weekend. Caitlin Clark's injury update. No timetable. Unfortunately. And this is going to hit the WNBA in terms of viewership, obviously. It's been shown already that usually when she doesn't play, people don't pay attention as much, unfortunately. But obviously, it's not a serious injury, so I would assume that she is going to be back before the playoffs and get the Indiana Fever over the hump, as everybody is hoping they will. And the other thing we didn't highlight the other day was the picture that you sent me, Sparky, that they're going to be doing a collaboration with Stranger Things with a very interesting looking jersey combo. I like them.
Yeah.
You got little demigorgons on it and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. But I'm a nerd, so I'm all for anything that nods to geek culture.
Yes,
me
too.
The other thing that I wanted to highlight about Caitlin Clark, she had an autographed signed rookie card get sold yesterday. $660,000 on Thursday, nearly doubling the record paid for a woman's card. Are we ready to accept that she is the cash cow of the WNBA yet? Are these athletes ready to accept that Caitlin is the reason you're going to be making money for the next, I don't know, decade, 2 decades, 3 decades? Because let's be honest, much like Michael Jordan, the money don't stop when they retire.
Yeah, she saved you.
She saved you, and she's going to save a lot of other people, along with some others that are going to be coming up here in the next year or two. Because Juju Watkins coming in from USC is going to be fantastic as well. We've already seen Paige Bucher absolutely tear it up this year for the Dallas team. I'm just saying, though, Caitlin Clark, as much as she, grief and hate that she gets around the league, that's a cash cow, baby. Like, I'm sorry, that's the one that's going to be getting you paid. So, like, are we ready to accept that yet?
I mean, since she's been on leave, the team has not looked good.
No.
I mean, they're falling down to 500. But speaking of the Fever, guard Sophie Cunningham was fined $500 by the WNBA after posting a TikTok lip-syncing Sabrina Carpenter song saying stupid, or is it slow? Maybe it's useless. Tagging some refs in it. And I think that was the key part, is she tagged some WNBA refs in her post. And she later even joked about it, saying, because there's not more important things to be worried about with the WNBA right now. You guys want to find me.
Here's the funny part about this. She was fined $500.
Yeah.
That's the funny part, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's minuscule. And I realize everyone's saying, well, they don't get paid that much. That TikTok that they're talking about that was released on July 18th has had 1.3 million views. You know how much money she's going to get from that view alone?
More than $500.
Yeah, way more. I'd laugh at all this too. I'd say, okay, go ahead, find me $500. Who cares? And again, this is not the first time we've seen the WNBA athletes talk out and saying the referees are awful this year. That may be true, but you're going to get penalized by the league no matter what. It's just like every other league. You talk about the referees and the officiating. They have to do something because you can't openly do that in the media. It's just going to cause problems for your league. I get it. But the question I'm going to pose here is not necessarily that is it warranted, but is this a good thing for the WNBA that we're seeing all of these stories talking about how bad the officiating is? And not because it seems like these women are complaining, but as I've said with a lot of other things this week, as long as we're talking about them, who cares? So is this by design? Are these players coming together and realizing maybe we should talk out more? maybe we should have our names in the media more so people know who we are.
Yeah, show some
not
personality.
just Caitlyn. Exactly. Show some personality. What are your thoughts?
I think it's genius. I'm also a wrestling fan, so any publicity is good publicity, even if you're bashing the refs. A $500 fine, but you had 1.2 million viewers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was on SportsCenter, it was on all the news outlets. For a team that's 12-12 and not a lot of people talking about it with Caitlyn's out with an injury.
Mm-hmm.
I think any drama will help the viewership. And I just hope that, I'm pushing for Angel, but I'm hoping, I know Juju is going to be a huge addition.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be watching because I want to see her with other Paige, Angel, Caitlyn. And I think as the years go on, we're going to keep getting these superstars, and it's only going to make the competition that much better. But I think with the ref stuff, I think it's more a publicity stunt more than actually a rip. I know the referees this season has been highlighted several times with players, and we talked about it last week or the beginning of this week where they all came out and wore their shirts, and they still turned that against Caitlyn for some reason. It's the drama, man.
That's the thing. I made my comments when we played the audio of Kelsey Plum, highlighting that none of Team Caitlyn was there for the decision, but they jumped on anyway. It's like, dude, really? Like, that's so childish. It's so high school.
Should make Caitlyn's name on your check.
I just can't. That type of attitude bugs me. You're trying to pretend you're the leader, but then gash somebody else just because you don't like her. And honestly, there's been some jabs on social media as well between the two since then. And I don't blame Caitlyn for throwing jabs after that, but it is what it is. I think that us talking about him is a good thing. Because like I said, if you get everybody's name in the media, that just means you're more recognized. Let's take Sophie Cunningham, for example. Sophie Cunningham, no one knew who Sophie Cunningham coming in was. Not a single person. The only two players that you even remotely knew about on the Indiana Fever were Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston is a stretch. That's if you've been paying attention since last year or 2 years ago, technically, because that's when Aaliyah was drafted. But at this point right now, no one knew who Sophia was. And now she's garnering 1.3 million views on TikTok. People love a heel. They really do. As much as we love to hate on the heel and call them, disingenuous or they're, just arrogant and they don't deserve what they get or this or that or the other, we love a heel. Everybody would love to be that person. That's why you garner so many views, because you have so many people looking at them and saying, you know what, they're right. I wish I could say the same thing. Or they use your content and say it as I'm feeling exactly like this. That's just how the internet works.
90% of it's just hate.
And if you take a lesson from the NBA and from the WWE, really, easiest way to grow your brands, social media. 110%. The NBA has been doing it for the last couple of years. They may not get the views on television anymore, but they get massive views online.
I'll go to just today's social media post with Shaq going out saying,
absolutely,
he hates Rudy Gobert. That if he gets into the Hall of Fame, that he'll come out and wear a effing dress to his celebration. And it's social media.
Honestly, too, what's funny is the amount of times Rudy Gobert has won the Defensive Player of the Year probably would get him into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So we might be seeing Shaq in a dress. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Rudy Gobert fan, nor am I disagreeing with Shaq at all. I don't think Rudy's good enough to be that guy, but the guy's won multiple Defensive Players of the Year, regardless if he's good on offense or not. Doesn't matter. The guy gets it done when he needs to, and he's been a consistent starter in the league ever since he came in. And honestly, was one of the first French players to really start this French revolution of basketball that we've been getting. So, as much as he loves to hate on the guy, but again, it's a good comparison. The millions of views that is going to get is going to take everybody's eyes off of the NFL for 10 seconds and onto the NBA. That's what the WNBA should be doing as well. So these stories about Sophie Cunningham and Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Plum and all these girls coming out, especially talking about the referees or talking about each other, the instant rivalries of each other, maybe that's what you need to really entice some viewers. Because I do believe there's a lot of basketball fans out there that yearn for the days of old of they don't like each other.
Yeah, the rivalries.
The rivalries are real. They would punch each other if given the opportunity. And I think that WNBA is in a prime position to give that to America, because you've already seen it in the media. They're not afraid to take jabs at each other. You don't see that in the NBA anymore. You don't see Kevin Durant very often going out and publicly criticizing LeBron or Kyrie Irving, even though Kyrie Irving is one of those guys that usually turns around and has in the past and said, oh, I'm coming out about this partnership with Kevin Durant, especially after that whole conversation Kevin had with LeBron on his podcast.
We only get Draymond.
Absolutely. But it's one of those situations where I feel like the WNBA could really fill that void well. And that could be a one-way ticket to stardom for the league. It really could, because the amount of money you can make on TikTok, Instagram alone, just from views, it would skyrocket your revenue. And then the NBA maybe doesn't have to subsidize you anymore. Maybe it doesn't have to pay for a lot of stuff anymore. You could pay for it yourself.
Yep.
And then your players get paid the money they want.
We will take our final break. We'll get to your text and wrap up the show so we can all enjoy our weekend.
Absolutely.
As Happy Gilmore 2 is now officially out.
So ready.
But we'll talk about that. We'll get your text right after this break. This is the Early Bird Special. You heard Metallica's cover?
Oh yes, that's a great one. 100%. Those are like the best covers of Tuesday's Gone. Ah, so good. You know what? Every time I hear this song, I think of the scene in Dazed and Confused when the party's over and everyone's going home. They're all getting in their cars and stuff, eggs out.
Dazed and Confused.
Love that movie.
I always just think of the grandma who had more.
That too.
And then they show her with the kiss, Gene Simmons mask.
It's so great. I cannot wait to go home and watch Happy Gilmore
Dude,
too. I hope you guys are going to enjoy it as much as
hope
I
it's
am.
good, man.
Everything that I hear, it's
I'm
good.
very nervous.
And it's a family movie now. It's all about how the kids kind of revitalize Happy's will to play golf and
need money for a ballet
succeed,
school or something.
like that. Yeah, the daughter wants to go to a school or something. I don't know exactly the full plot, but I was listening to the interview that Busted Open did with MJF, who plays one of the sons, along with the other three sons. I cannot remember the actors' names right now, but they all talked about it in high regard. And to be honest with you, it seemed like the camaraderie between the four of them really was going to show on screen. So I'm very, very excited to see what this movie becomes.
Some text from the day all over the place. The Mariners trade is good for the M's. Mariners get a big dude, and but they won't get by Houston.
I don't know exactly if Houston's going to be the same team we're used to seeing. I genuinely believe Seattle's got a chance to really supersede them. I would say you guys are going to make a move for Suarez as well, but I feel like if you were, it would have been connected to this trade. Obviously, Naylor coming from Arizona, it wouldn't make a lot of sense that you do two separate trades with Arizona. So I would say that Naylor coming in is a solid pickup for you guys. And I mean, adding him to Julio and Cal, that's going to be a really formidable 1, 2, 3, at least to sit at your 2, 3, and 4 in the lineup. So I'm going to say they're sitting pretty happy.
The other one says, I see Wilkins going back to Miami, but I'm seeing reports that New England is already pushing for him.
Oh, would not surprise me. And to see him with Vrabel's defense,
I just don't see it, man. I could see like how great he would be for New England, but he hates the Patriots. I just don't see it.
I mean, again, a lot of things can be changed with one word, my friend.
Yep.
Money.
Money.
Dinero. How much are you willing to pay?
Let's see if the Raiders have to pay him first before he makes any decisions.
That's absolutely true.
The other one says, I'm with you, Burdick. I wasn't a fan of Hogan, but he was the key to growth of WrestleMania. I've seen the videos from Ric Flair and other wrestlers, but I'm surprised we haven't heard anything from Vince McMahon.
You know what? I was thinking the same thing. I thought for sure Vince would be one of the first ones to come out. But then again, Vince has never been a social media guy. So maybe he has made his comments and we just don't know about it. He doesn't really share his life out there on social media, especially with everything going on with his life right now. So I would not be surprised if they just decided saying, you know what? Let's just keep your comments to yourself, Vince, and continue on focusing on this wrestling promotion that you're trying to get off the ground. So
the WWE came out and said it will be a heavily Hogan anniversary for tonight or announcements. But the other one says when it comes to the WNBA, these two need to get off their high horse. The next one says, surprisingly, Becky Lynch went into a Hogan type colored ring gear in the last few weeks since the fan had a sign saying Becky Hogan and wonder if she'll continue that after the passing.
Oh, I think she does. I think it's much like the Roddy Piper lean with Rousey. If it fits and the fans give it to you, it's organic. You run with it. Although you can do it in a tasteful way. She doesn't have to walk out and look exactly like Hulk Hogan tonight. But I mean, if she walks out at SummerSlam with, the red and the blue and the yellow and a little bit of a nod to Hulk, I think that it could be done beautifully. And honestly, it's very relevant because we have SummerSlam coming up in a week. It'd still be fresh on everybody's minds. I think it's a great opportunity for the WWE to cash in on what was one of their biggest cash cows at one point.
And the last one says, favorite Hulk Hogan match. was Hogan versus Warrior, the little for this title match, and the Hollywood Hogan with The Rock was awesome.
Hollywood Hogan against The Rock was probably The Rock's biggest match in terms of turning him into the superstar he is today. Still stand by, though. I feel Andre against Hulk is the most influential match, probably on sports entertainment, because for the size, both literal and figurative, of Andre the Giant, that was a feat that no man was capable of doing except Hulk Hogan, and it truly made him the real American. So that is where we will end it. Thank you guys for joining us this week. Join us back on Monday. Once again, Leanne Morgan be joining us. This has been the Early Bird Special. We got to get out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.
Go Mariners.